Okie dokie, folks. Welcome back. Horticulturalist Felder Rushing. I'm going to be talking about gardening for the next hour or so. So I hope you're ready for it because we're in a transition right now. It's springtime from the point of view of a spring equinox. But it ain't springtime for gardeners, not even in Mississippi, maybe along the coast. But as a lot of people in central Mississippi, north Mississippi figured out, we got a frost last night. We got ice. We got some hard times. I don't think it really caused a lot of problems. You know, the blueberries are blooming and a lot of the fruit trees are growing. But I think it wasn't that hard freeze that we needed to do any real damage. But anyway, a lot of people are concerned about it. And if you want to talk about it, give us a call. It's toll free, 1-877-MPB-RING. We welcome folks listening on the radios, listening online, and we especially welcome folks who have tuned into the live stream. And if you're not familiar with what we're talking about, you can go to YouTube. You don't even have to join anything. Just go to YouTube, and in the search box, type Gestalt Gardener or Mississippi Public Broadcasting, and you can see not just me and Java, but also the stuff I'm going to be talking about for the next hour. Got some flowers to show. Got some pictures to show of things going on. Got my traveling salad here. I always take it with me. Matter of fact, Java, I went last night to a really fun program up in Carroll County. Went to Carrollton.
Okay.
Met with a garden club, the Cherokee Rose Garden Club, and all their friends. The garden clubs from all around. There were people from the Delta, people from Winona, people from all over. Something around 85 or 90 people were there. And we just whooped it up. Had good food, a lot of laughs, kicking around gardening stuff, and it was quite interesting.
And it's the Cherokee Gardening Club.
The Cherokee Rose Garden Club.
Cherokee Rose Gardening Club. Okay, okay.
But it was a huge crowd, and some of the ladies brought their men folk with them, you know, and of course, you know, we had a lot of stuff between you guys, you know what I'm talking about type things. But I brought this salad with me because it's in a colander. It's just in an old kitchen colander, which got all the holes for drainage, full of some potting soil. And I've got 3 kinds of lettuces: burgundy lettuce, green lettuce, frilly leaf. I've got little purple and yellow violas. I've got flat leaf parsley. I've got a little cascading thing of some thyme, and I've got some crepe myrtle sticks stuck up in it with little tiny green and blue bottles on it for accent.
Yeah, no, I see your bottles. Where do you find these miniature
bottles? The little tiny one up at the top, the little blue at the top, that's an old personal-sized Vicks Vapor Rub thing. and I've got one as I fly a lot, and I got little tiny personal-sized Sky vodka bottles. They're blue. But also,
nothing wrong with that.
No, but I also go online. I go to Amazon and order, you can get any kind of shaped bottles by the dozen if you want to. But anyway, the point is I've got a whole entire beautiful little garden with shapes and textures and colors and flowers and foliage and accent, and everything in it except for the bottles is edible. And I carry it around with me to show that anybody can garden. Anybody can garden anywhere, in anything, as long as it's got a hole in the bottom.
The only thing you're missing is a little thing of vinaigrette.
Yeah, I can stop by one of these you get the little self-serve things. I could probably do that. And I guess ketchup won't do.
Not on your salad.
No. But how are you this morning, sir?
Man, I'm doing fine, man. It is a lot happening, as always, here at MPB. But I do have some news for the home garden. The last week we went to Hutto's. Yeah. Maybe about 2 weeks ago now. We went and got some herbs. And tomorrow my father's going to come by, because he's a more experienced gardener than me, myself, and Crystal.
He's coming over tomorrow?
He's coming over, and he's going to help build the raised bed.
Can I help?
Yeah, of course.
I mean, can I watch, I should say? I mean, I can bend a nail with the best of them.
Yeah, he's going to come over and help with that, and we're going to get it started. I mean, I've shown pictures of shown you pictures of my dad's garden. He, grows.
He's hardcore, man.
Tomatoes and watermelons and everything. Like he does it.
Oh, we got to do it on that side with the slope?
Yes.
That's a perfect place, man. It faces the south. It's going to be ideal. And it's got all the wood and stuff like that.
Yeah, and if last week, Crystal took me out on maybe about a 30-minute walk around the house, talking about all the things that need to go and need to stay, and yeah.
Okay, is she going to be around?
Yeah, she's going to be around. Yep.
If you and me and Dad get together, we could get some stuff done.
Oh,
we don't need any honeydew lists.
Oh, that's already sent to the phone. That's in a nice, neat text message.
But I've done so many raised beds over the years, so many, both my personal school gardens and demonstration gardens, and helping other folks with my daughter, my granddaughter. To me, it's a real simple thing. Your dad knows all this kind of stuff.
Oh yeah.
But I'd love to be there and do the process thing.
Well, I'm gonna ask a question. Tomorrow, are you not driving the green truck in the St. Patty's Day parade?
No, I just remembered. No, I'm not doing the St. Patrick's Day thing. I'm doing I'm giving a program to the Daylily Society over Meridian. So when's Dad coming over? Morning, afternoon, what?
Probably about midday. I myself will be at the St. Patty's Day parade, so
it'll be after the St. Patty's Day, or is he gonna do it while you're not there?
He may. Knowing my dad, he'd probably try to do it when I'm not there.
If he could put it off to the middle of the afternoon.
Okay.
Then I mean, coming straight back from Meridian.
Okay, I'll talk with him, because the one thing we did talk about last night is the labor is free, but we have to make sure we pay for the materials.
Yeah, well, anyway, it doesn't have to be hard to do. It can be done where it's pretty, it's kind of angled, instead of sitting on it could be angled into the dirt, so we can make it photo worthy in case you and I end up being gardening stars.
Okay.
Anyway, we got a lot of stuff to talk about. I would like to, before we get a couple of sad things. There was the destruction on the coast. But last week, I was leaving my pub late on a Friday night, and I happened to tune in to MPB, and you were doing live weather at 1 in the morning here at the studio. You, the head of radio.
Well, I mean, we were trying. Last weekend was pretty significant, and that is one of our, I don't want to say charters, but one of our mandates is to, keep Mississippians informed when those type of things happen.
Yeah.
So, I mean, whether it's me and the rest of the radio team, we were here that whole weekend. It just happened to be me that Friday night.
Well, I text you, so are you really at the studio at 1 in the morning? You said somebody's got to do it.
Somebody's got to do it, man.
So anyway, MPB was on the job live at 1 in the morning on a horrific storm weekend.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and there's some other stuff to talk about, but we're here to yak with folks about what's going on in their gardens. Let's start out in talking with Ruffin from Louise, which is the heart of the Delta. Morning, Ruffin. How are you?
Good morning. I'm well.
You really in Louise?
I really am.
I mean, you're not in Midnight or something like that.
No, Midnight's a bedroom community on the outskirts of Louis.
Okay. What you got going on this morning?
Well, I was going to ask, but first, my condolences to everyone who suffered in the storm last week.
It was terrible.
Hope they have speedy recovery.
Yeah.
But
I mean, y'all went through that a couple of years ago with that tornado that went through Rolling Fork, and it went pretty close to Louise.
Everyone here is sensitive to what the weather does. We pay attention when we hear the emergency break.
Yeah, you put your jeans on in case they find you in the tree. You're gonna wish you had them on. Yeah. So anyway, what's up with your fruit trees?
Well, I was just going to ask. Last night it was so cold, and peach trees have bloomed, plums have bloomed, bud break on a number of other trees. Yeah. What's that going to do to us in our crop?
It's hard to say. We always get freezes in late March. It's the average is we're just now approaching the average last freeze of the spring. So it's hard to say. A lot of the plants can take it. They could take down to the upper 20s without any real problems. So it's just a matter of waiting and seeing. Agriculture, horticulture, home gardening, it's always going to be a gamble. But normally the stuff that normally blooms this time of year is pretty well adapted to normal cold temperatures, as long as it doesn't hard freeze. So not much you can do except just wait and see. Not much. Have you got blueberries?
Well, we lost our blueberries to drought.
Yeah, me too.
Maybe lack of our watering on the side.
Yeah,
we
you know what?
Start that over.
And you're talking to a guy who studied fruit science at Mississippi State and who wrote the book on growing fruits, and I lost my blueberries too. To just plain didn't get around to watering them. But anyway, not much you can do except to just kind of wait and see. That's the bottom line.
Well, maybe it'll turn out. But I appreciate your consideration, and I want to thank you. Y'all have a great weekend.
All righty, man. Appreciate it. By the way, you know, we used to drive through Midnight Louise on the way to the, you know, I'm from Indianola. Used to go there all the time. Now you got to get off the main road to go to those lovely little hamlets.
That I don't know if that's a blessing or a curse. We enjoy the peace and quiet, but we maybe miss being on the thoroughfare.
Yep. All righty, man. Well, good luck on it. Fingers crossed, guy.
Take care. Thank you.
You bet, Ruffin. All right, and let's slide down to central Mississippi, talk to Nanny and Brandon. Good morning. How are you today?
Good morning. Thank you for taking my call.
You bet.
I live in a subdivision in an old house that was built in 1979. My difficulty is over the years, the soil on the front of my house has washed away. Mm-hmm. I have 4 huge trees on the front, and the roots are showing, and I see some sand even. Should I? And it's kind of at a slope, you know, from the front, from the beginning of the street down toward the house. I would like to get, I think, if I got loads and loads of dirt put on my front lawn and covered up the tree roots, is that going to kill my trees?
Well, that's a real good. It's a good question, and it could. You know, if you because tree roots are shallow because they can't breathe down deep. You know, air and water only penetrate so deep, and so tree roots have to be shallow. And if you cover them up too much, it can smother the tiny little, not the big roots you can see, but the little tiny hair roots that do all the real work. They're usually not up close to the tree, though. They're usually way on out from the tree. So as long as you don't put more than 2 or 3 inches, it's probably not going to cause any problems at all. Here's the problem, though. It's likely to just simply wash away again because it's just on top of that dirt. And a heavy rain like we get, you know, you can get 2 or 3 inches at a time and more. It can just wash it away. So if you're going to do that, what I would do would be to, and this sounds hard, but it's not, if terrace it across the slope, you know, every 4, 5, or 6 feet, you know, put you some, you know, it could be bricks, it could be monkey grass, liriope, it could be some 2x6 boards put across, sort of like like steps, and just terrace it like that, and then the dirt will fill in behind those, and it'll make a natural stair step that slows the water down. And anything you can't stop the water, but you need to slow it down. That's what reduces erosion. So as far as just putting dirt out there, it's just going to wash away again. If you go with some shredded bark or some pine straw, that can slow the water down. But I think just putting dirt out there is just going to wash away again. It's going to be a lot of trouble. Not much risk to your tree, though, to answer your question. But I really think you need to think about something else to slow the water down crosswise across the wash, you know, whether it's bricks or rocks or monkey grass or boards or something like that. It really is a long run is the only really effective solution is to slow or reroute the water.
Please, sir, I'm so sorry. The allergies.
Oh yeah. You ought to see my green pickup truck right now. It's yellow. But anyway.
Okay. In order to terrace it, lumber, just that to me would be the simplest thing. Do you just lay the 2x4s on top of each other?
No.
On the bare ground.
No, you get the 2x. I would go a 2x 2x4s will work, but 2x6s would be better. You stand them up on edge and then cut some 2x4 stake or some rebar stakes and put them on the downside of it to hold them upright. You can get pieces of rebar at like Home Depot or Lowe's that are only a foot or so long and just pound them in the ground on the downslope side of those boards that hold them in place perfectly well. And then you could pile wood chips or bark or leaves on the upside, the uphill side of it, and it'll look like a nice little terrace, and it'll catch water, it'll catch leaves, and it'll sort of it'll figure itself out there. It's just terracing, and this is commonly done after the first 2 or 3 people who live in a house, do whatever they can to avoid doing stuff, but in the long run, it ends up being terraces.
Okay, I think I have a visual. Thank you so much.
You bet. If you want to email me about this, I can get a little bit more detail with some pictures and stuff like that. But we can make it simple. It doesn't have to be expensive or a lot of difficulty. But if you email me, garden@mpbonline.org, I'll be glad to. We can get a lot more detail.
Thank you so very much. Bye-bye.
You bet. Good luck on it. We have a lot of trouble with that. Java, I've been doing stuff this past week. I've been getting ready to garden in the springtime, but I've been so busy gardening for the winter. I've still got a lot of stuff out there. We're going to talk about some of that. But if on the live stream, if we could get Sahara or Jake to put up picture number 10 of my curbside mulch rescue when we come back. I went around and found bags of leaves, clean leaves, no pines, cones, no magnolia, just oaks and stuff, and I rescued it. That's what a pickup truck is for, and I piled it around my potatoes this weekend. So anyway, we got plenty to talk about, folks. I've got some flowers that are often overlooked in the garden to talk about blooming this first full day of spring. Here at MPB, we're glad to help you with anything you've got on your mind garden-wise. We're going to take a real quick break and come back with more of the Gestalt Gardener, me and Java and Blake and Sahara right after this.
Hi, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Bobby Rush. As a blues man, I love Mississippi Public Broadcasting. If you support Mississippi music and their local programming, donate now, right now, and become a member today, not tomorrow. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Doesn't matter how big or small, but we prefer big. Thank you very much.
You don't want to miss the next Mississippi Antique Showcase coming to Oxford, Mississippi, May 2nd and 3rd.
For a $100 donation, you can get a showcase ticket, complimentary food, cocktails, and an on-site appraisal, or a chance to be on the show. Or for $60, you can just come and be part of the party. Call 1-844-874-6874, visit mpbonline.org, or scan the QR code on your screen.
We can't wait to see you in Oxford for the next Mississippi Antique Showcase.
The Mississippi legislative session is in the home stretch, and MPB's At Issue keeps you informed of the major developments.
What do Mississippians expect of their government?
It is a fascinating debate, and he and I could go back and forth for an hour on this.
But the truth is, we cannot just keep creating no accountability.
Join MPB's At Issue for interviews, analysis, and debate every Friday night at 6:30 on MPB Think Radio. Go to mpbonline.org/issue for podcasts and extended interviews. MPB, your stories, our mission.
Okie dokie, folks. Welcome back. Horticulturalist Felder Rushing. And while we're taking that break, I got Sahana and Blake to pull up one of the pictures that I took this week. I was walking around the neighborhood late at night, and I saw these bags of leaves, and I kicked them, Java.
That's what I was going to ask. You said you liberated bags of leaves. It seems like you took someone's leaves that they put on the side.
They did. They did. But I liberated them from the landfill.
Well, okay. Hey, but you did put them to good use. I will say that, because a lot of times people just bag their leaves and they do become trash, but you can actually use these.
Well, these are big bags of leaves. They're clear. I kicked them to make sure there's no sticks and pine cones. And I also looked at the yard, the landscape, really nice landscape, and they didn't have any pine trees or magnolias. So I know of just oak leaves and grass clippings, but I also noticed something else. This is horticultural forensics.
Okay.
They've got some winter wildflowers in their yard. Okay, little green stuff, tufts, which tells me that these leaves and grass haven't been sprayed with weed killers.
This is like NCIS for gardens.
That's right. So I noticed it was clean oaks and grass clippers rich in nitrogen. Anyway, if I show the next picture, I put them on the back of I went around with my pickup truck, and that's what I did. I piled them in the back. Picture number 11 is the back of my pickup truck, and you can see the flowers and stuff like that growing in it. And that's what a truck is for. And this stuff would have cost me like $15 at a garden center.
Now, oh man, I wonder if you could put up signs. Well, if you come and rake them up, you can have them for sure. But
I mean, these folks had already raked them, put them on the curb. They're there for the taking. As long as you got 1 foot in the street, it's mine.
Yeah.
But then I took them home. But the next picture, I used in my flower garden, I use different kinds of mulch. I use pine straw, which is nice and free, but it has to be put on like 3 or 4 inches deep. I use shredded bark and chip stuff, which is nice and looks nice, and it slowly degrades. But I use these leaves also because they decompose quickly and they feed worms, which dig holes down deep around my plants. And I've got a lot of perennials and things I can't dig around. So I just throw some leaves on the top. This is what worms eat. I hit it with a little cottonseed meal, which is nitrogen. It gives some protein. And the worms come up and they eat it, and they dig these holes down and they circulate all these nutrients down deep around my plant. They do my digging for me. So anyway, that's the kind of stuff that garden nerds do.
Well, that's all right. Like I said, a lot of times people just rake the leaves up and bag them up, but they could be put to use throughout your yard, you know.
Yeah. Something else. I tell you what, I've got a couple of other things to talk about, but let's go. We're here to talk with folks about what's going on in the garden. So let's go to Flora and talk with Russell.
Hold on, wait.
Almost.
Nope, not right now. Okay. We're good. Now we're good.
Okay, Russell from Flora. What's up, man?
Oh, not a whole lot, Angel. I mean, Felder, how you doing?
I'm doing so far so good. What you got going on?
I had a question about live oaks. I hadn't been real successful growing from acorns the past couple of years, and I was wondering if you had any tips as far as putting them in the freezer and waiting until spring, or...
Yeah, you're on the right track. This is what happens in nature, and live oaks don't need a lot of cold. I mean, they grow naturally along the Gulf Coast, which doesn't get a lot of freezes, but they get what's called chilling hours, and chilling is below 40 or 45, but above freezing. So chilling hours is how they tell. So what I would do. And by the way, you can find lots of this stuff online. But if you take those acorns and you put them in a bucket of water, if they float, they're not any good. If they sink, those are the ones to, and if you'll just soak them a little bit, put them in a plastic bag with some barely damp potting soil or a barely damp piece of paper towel. We're trying to create humidity, not moisture. A little something damp in a plastic bag, and put them in the refrigerator, not the freezer. The refrigerator. That's chilling hour. That's above freezing but below 40, 45. And leave them in there for 2 or 3 months and take them out. They should come right on up. You could also soak them overnight, put them in pots, and set them outside and just let them get exposed to the normal overwinter temperature. That's just a little bit iffier than doing it in the refrigerator. But keeping them moist, humid and chilled, not frozen, is how they tell time. And after 2 or 3 months of that, you can take them out. They should sprout right on up.
When I take them out and put them in potting soil, how deep should I set them?
Inch or so, inch or so. Just think acorns laid on top of the ground, covered up with oak leaves, and you got the idea.
Yes, sir. Okay, kind of same question. What about magnolias?
Magnolias are a little bit different. Magnolias and dogwoods and seeds of trees that are fleshy. They got, squishy stuff inside. They're hormones in the flesh. The red thing that we call seeds of magnolias is a little fruit. And the flesh of it has got a hormone that inhibits seed germination. And so you got to clean those seeds really good to get all the flesh off. The seeds are inside. Clean them really good and then expose them to the chilling and moist stuff. And what happens in nature is possums and birds and all eat the seeds. They clean them in their digestive tract and drop a, air quotes, clean seed on the ground, and it gets exposed to the cold and winter and chill of the winter. So you got to clean the seeds out of those little bright red berry-looking things really, really well to get rid of the flesh that'll keep them from sprouting. It's a little bit late for doing that because, they do best if, but anyway, that's what it takes on dogwoods, redbuds, fruits that have got seeds inside, little fleshy stuff.
Okay, and then on those live oaks, I heard if they drop and hit the ground, a worm can get in there and eat it. Is that the one that would float? Is that what you're saying? Yeah,
and there's other reasons why they might not be viable. Might not have got good pollination. There's several reasons, but a lot of times they'll have a little weevil in them, and that can happen even on the tree. It doesn't have to be on the ground. But anyway, as long as they sink, they're good.
Okay, man. Well, I appreciate it. Y'all have a good day. And I was going to say hey to Java, but...
There he is. Say hey, Java.
Yep.
Oh, yeah. Appreciate you, Russell. Appreciate you calling in, man.
All right, go. Yep, thank y'all. Have a good one.
Before we go to this next call real quick, I would like to show a picture of an antique heirloom. I've got a shrub in my yard. It's an heirloom shrub that's called double flowering almond. It's not a pretty plant most of the year, but it's a terrific little plant that's been around since the early 1800s in Mississippi.
I was going to say, isn't that a double antique heirloom?
Yeah. And by the way, antique means it's over 50 years old. In the garden, if it's over 50 years old, it's an antique. Uh-huh. If it's something you got from somebody else, an heirloom. So this is the antique heirloom. But this little shrub, it's not real showy. Garden centers don't sell them because they don't look like anything at all in a pot. But when they bloom, they say these folks are connected with other gardeners. And it just blooms in the, late winter, early spring. And when mine gets through blooming, I just cut it down. It sprouts up, has lots of sprouts the next year. But this is an example of the kind of plants that people have passed along and shared for a long time that gives texture and interest to the garden beyond what I call the party girls. Anybody can buy an azalea or a dogwood, but there's so many cool little plants out there that give the homegrownness, I guess, to a garden. So anyway, let's go up to Neshoba County real quick and talk to Bill. Bill, what's going on?
Hey, I have a issue with some pear trees.
Mm-hmm.
I bought 2 pear trees, different varieties. The nursery told me they bloom at the same time. They do not.
Yeah.
But I have some neighbors who grow pears, so I'm wondering how close do they have to be to fertilize?
Oh, close enough for the bees to go from one tree to the other before going back to the hive. They got to, have to have trees on, hit both of them in the same trip to carry pollen from one to the other. So,
okay.
Unfortunately, a lot of garden centers, and this is, they're selling fruit trees, which is a plus, but a lot of times they don't understand the nuances of trees that are bloom better up north or further south or in central Mississippi. Fruit trees that are good for North Mississippi may not do well at all in South Mississippi and vice versa. Of course, you're right in the middle. So not much you can do. Here's what you can do. If you'll go to a garden center and get a pear tree called Orient. Orient is it's not Oriental, but the one named Orient. It is a self-fertile, disease-resistant pear tree, and not only we get pears off of it, but there's a good chance it can pollinate other trees too, because it's sort of a mid-season bloomer. But if you can add that close to your, if the other ones never do, your Orient will always have some pears.
Okay. And so I have some space like 4 feet away. That would be close enough for one trip for the bees.
Oh, yeah. You say 40 or 4?
4.
Oh, no. 15 or 20 feet is close enough.
Okay. All righty. I'll go out and look for some Orient.
All righty. Well, good luck on it. Good luck on it. And and some years, pears and apples and all, they bloom sometimes a week or two different from year to year. So it might be next year they'll do fine. Fingers crossed, eh?
Yeah, fingers crossed. You got time for one more question about the pears?
Yeah.
Okay. So they're about 7 years old, and both of them, every year they send up a bunch of branches off the top, up about 6 feet, straight up.
Yeah, they do that. Yep, that's what they do.
So it's not something I'm doing. I'm just going to have to trim them every year.
Yeah, and when you cut them off, cut them right where they start growing. Don't leave a stub. And that's just sort of like plucking eyebrows. It's something you just got to do every now and then.
Okay, great.
Good luck
All right,
on it.
well, have a good day.
All righty. Okay, Java, what do we do now?
It's mid-show. Let's get ready for that cheesy tune.
Well, let me set it up by showing a picture of Granny's chicken. It's picture number 5 here. I got Granny's chicken that I bring with me. And then picture number 6 is P. Allen Smith. He's a well-known, he does a well-known garden expert from Arkansas. He is in charge of Heirloom Chicken Society. They're saving all these heirloom breeds. And I took him my granny's chicken to lay hands on her.
Oh,
and
man.
He said she's a fine old bird. And I was thinking about the other day, which helped me decide this week's cheesy tune is something I pulled off of the Muppet Show. And I just thought it'd be interesting for this time of year, especially considering the price of eggs right now.
Oh, wow.
The price of eggs. I'm thinking, okay, this is the time to bring out Granny Chicken and celebrate the bird.
The Measuring Show.
Since 1970, MPB has been enriching the lives of Mississippians.
Everything we do gives us the chance to grow and learn.
With your support, we are always there whenever and wherever you need us. Together through the years, together in the future. Please consider making a donation at mpbfoundation.org. MPB, your stories, our mission.
Hello, I'm Desiree Frazier, host of the award-winning news program, Mississippi Edition. We bring you conversations about the latest news from across the Magnolia State. Whether it's politics, healthcare, or education, you'll hear in-depth discussions on issues that matter to you. So join us each weekday morning at 8:30 on MPB Think Radio, or download the podcast, listen through the app, and online.
Both seasons of the 10-Minute Timeout are now available on a variety of podcasting apps. The mini podcast can be binged in a day and is perfect for those that just want a quick listen. Join me, Lacey Alexander, as I sit down with special guests, revisit major moments, and give a platform to the athletes and sports that shape Mississippi. Head over to mpbonline.org to give it a try.
Welcome back. Horticulturalist Felder Rushing. Something weird happened on I've got some kind of weird thing on the screen in here, but I'm just going to ignore it because if I start pushing buttons, it's going to be a Java.
Yeah, I don't know. I can't see that screen.
There, you whatever it was, you just either you or Blake or Sahana fixed it.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, Blake and Sahana, they know what they're doing back there.
Anyway, well, we got a couple of calls on the line, but Java, this live stream thing, we have a lot of people watching this live, and they can see my traveling salad with the little bottle tree. They can see the pictures of Granny's chicken and the flowers and all, but sometimes they can also send us questions.
Yeah, that is true. We do have a couple questions. Also, Jade in the chat, she says she loves the traveling salad and happy spring. Also, I wanted to tell you, I saw your first day of spring posts. If you're following MPB on social media, at MPB Online on Instagram and Facebook and other social media outlets, you were welcoming spring yesterday. But we do have, let's see, they got a question from one of our favorites.
Keep it clean, Java.
Mushroom Sally. Mushroom Sally says, good morning, y'all. Still thinking about composting, but terrified of rats/mice. Can stainless steel mesh effectively keep them out?
Yeah, I guess a good question. And the answer is, yeah, if you have a gate and everything, but chicken wire will do it too. Chicken wires or half-inch hardware cloth. Not quarter-inch, but half-inch hardware cloth. That's what I use around mine. You just put some posts up, put the hardware cloth, but you have to put it down in the ground a little bit so they don't tunnel up under it. Problem is, they can climb up over it.
That's what I was about to say, yeah.
So here's the thing. You're not going to have mice and rats unless you have stuff for them to eat, which is kitchen scraps. If you got leaves and grass clippings and weeds and all that kind of stuff in it, it's not a problem. If you put kitchen scraps, which I do, I have a little piece of a shovel, and I just pull it back, I put it in, cover it up. If you bury it 4 or 5 inches deep, you're not going to have problems with vermin. You're just not. If you throw it on top, you're going to get possums too.
Yeah.
Trust me on this. But anyway, the half-inch hardware cloth or even chicken wire will keep out most varmints, but you have to cover it also.
And we got another question before we get to our callers. Maggie, she says, good morning from Chattanooga. I've seen a lot online about bulb lasagna. I like to do something similar in my flower bed. What specific bulbs would you recommend for nearly year-round blooms?
Oh, she's a lot further north. And what you do is you find out bulbs that do well in your part of the country. Here in Mississippi, up in Tennessee, you can grow tulips a little bit better. But basically, all bulb lasagna, I've done this in pots every year. You put some potting soil down in a pot. You put some big bulbs. You cover them up with some potting soil. You put medium-sized bulbs, cover them up, and little bulbs, cover them up. You're just layering the bigger ones deeper than the little ones. And then you put like a pansy or a viola or something like that up at the top, so you have something pretty hanging over the edge of the pot. Not just bulbs, but if you're growing stuff in the dirt, you need to find out the best kind of bulbs for your part of the country. Was this? It wasn't Knoxville.
No, Chattanooga.
Chattanooga. If you're, depending on what side, if you're down in the low part or up on the mountainside, it might be a little bit different bulbs. But find out the kind of bulbs that do well in the ground in Chattanooga. I've got a good friend in Tennessee, Carol Reese, who can help with that. But all you're doing is you're putting big bulbs deeper than little bulbs and putting some flowers on top.
Okay.
And in every part of the state, in Mississippi, on the coast, I would recommend different bulbs than I would in North Mississippi if you want them to come back here. But if you're just doing them, for show, do them in a pot. Just do them in a pot.
And I also want to say good morning to Pamela, who is checking in from Halston. She is a YouTube regular. We appreciate her. Jacqueline, Jade, Kendall checking in, Mr. Gray Browning, and everybody watching on YouTube. We appreciate y'all for checking us out on the new media.
You say Jaqueline?
Jaqueline? You got me. Let's go to the phone calls.
Let's go to Clinton and talk to Kay. Good morning, Kay. How are you?
Good morning.
Howdy. What's up?
I am digging and dividing. And it looks like, when I look it up, that it's okay to go ahead and dig up daffodils. It's patches that I've had there probably 10 to 15 years and are not blooming well.
Yeah.
So after I transplant, do I leave the leaves on so the plants get chlorophyll, or do I cut the leaves off?
A couple of things. Do you have to move them this week?
No.
Okay, here's the reason why. Daffodils and other spring blooming bulbs, they start sprouting in the late fall, early winter. Well, they start growing roots in the fall, and then they grow leaves. And after they normally finish blooming, for the 4, 5, 6 weeks is when they make the new bulbs and the flowers for next year. So if you cut them right after they bloom, or if you dig them while they're in bloom, it interrupts that little dance between the roots and the leaves and all like that, and you're going to likely interrupt it. If you dig a bulb while it's in bloom, or if you cut it down right after blooming, it often will skip a year blooming. It's really important to leave them intact until the leaves start to turn yellow. A lot of people ignore this, and they have success. Most people don't. It's going to be 2027 before they even have a chance of blooming again. So what I would do is mark the ones you want to move so you know where they are, because I always forget, and then wait till the leaves turn yellow or flop over, die down, then dig them up and move them. That way, if they have half a chance of making a flower bud for next year, they do it right before the 4, 5, 6 weeks before they die down in the spring. So if at all possible, just mark the ones you want and wait to move them. And you can replant them immediately, or you can store them in a cool, dry place indoors and plant them in the fall. It doesn't matter the bulb, where it's stored, as long as it had a chance to make next year's flower bud, which is going to be over the next month or so.
I thought they were okay when they were done blooming. These are early bloomers. I'm moving.
Yeah, well,
So I can wait.
It still takes, keep in mind, I've been working with daffodils since I was 10 years old. My great grandmother had 350 different kinds, and I've grown maybe 70. And I've been working with the Daffodil Society, and we all know that if you dig them while they're in bloom, they're likely to skip a year blooming. So it takes 4, 5, 6 weeks after they finish blooming to make next year's bulb.
Okay, the next question is it still time to spray crepe myrtle?
For what?
For whatever the black is.
You don't spray them for that. You have to put a liquid soiled. You have to there's a systemic insecticide that's absorbed by roots and move within the plant that works. And you mix it with water and you pour it around the roots.
Oh, okay. Is it time?
It's a little bit early. They're starting to leaf out, but generally, April, May would be the best time. Once they start leafing out is when they start pulling stuff from the roots up to the leaves. And that's the whole idea. You're trying to get the stuff distributed throughout the plant, and that doesn't happen until after the trees leaf out. So I would say April is probably the ideal month for doing that. And every garden center knows what you're talking about. They have the right kind of spray. The trick is mix it with a lot of water. It's not how much insecticide you use, but the water helps get it down to the roots.
Okay, I appreciate it. Thanks for your help.
Okay, appreciate it. Okay, now let's go to Brandon. Talk to Jim Bob. Jim Bob, what's going on? What's up? You got something itchy in your compost?
Yeah, I need help with ants, both in my raised bed and particularly in my compost pile. I'm concerned that if I move my compost around the yard, I'm going to move the ants around with it. I've tried borax and sugar, but no success there. So what's your recommendation?
Well, a couple things real quick. And keep in mind, I've been working with fire ants for almost half a century. I've seen everything coming and going, from baits to poisons to all sorts of stuff. And the bottom line, you're not likely to move them unless you move the queen. The workers, they get confused. You move them, you toss in the wind, and they don't know what to do. So that's not so much a concern. Moving the queen and the eggs and things like that is what you ought to be concerned about. And to be honest, it's not that big a concern because you got fire ants anyway. So what I would do is I would concentrate on the mounds directly that are directly affecting you. They're mounting up on your tomato plants, or they're up against the front steps or something like that. I wouldn't so much worry about just ants in general. And the truth is, we can garden with fire ants. I do. I've got 3 fire ant mounds in my garden right now. I know where they are. I mulched around one of them yesterday and disturbed them. But basically, as long as I know where they are, just like the spider, I've got a spider on one of my potted plants indoors. I know where she is. She doesn't bother me. So you can live with quite a few fire ants if you just see it that way. But if you want to control them, the baits take a long time to work. They kill the queen. She stops laying eggs. Ants are too ignorant to figure it out, and they peter out. If you want to control them directly, use a mound treatment, a liquid you mix with water or a granule put on the mound. As long as you keep it on or right around the mound, it's not going to affect your nearby vegetables. These things don't move sideways and get in your plants. So treat the mounds individually, the ones that directly affect you. Unfortunately, what will kill fire ants in the compost will also kill a lot of the good guys, the worms and stuff like that. So if you can, just garden around them. It's not something we want to hear, but it works as well as anything. And this is a voice of a lot of experience. As a matter of fact, I'm scratching my hands just thinking about them. But anyway, mound treatments, granules or liquids treating the mound. And if you'll treat them late in the day, by morning, it'll work. But there are no easy, natural fire ant repellents or controls. Everything in the world has been tried. I'm just real bottom line on this. Treat the mound with a fire ant poison, or else just learn to garden with them. Seriously.
Thanks.
Okay, I know it's not what you want to hear, but that's, this is, I'm an old guy, and this is what I've learned.
Okay, appreciate you.
Okay, Jim Bob.
Now, Felder, before we go to our next caller, Jane in Madison, how do we, are all ants bad for the garden, or is it just fire ants?
Well, fire ants really aren't that bad, in the garden. I mean, they bother us and irritate, they mound up and stuff. But regular ants are important pollinators. The only ants that I'm concerned about are fire ants. That's the only. You see these great big black, what they call carpenter ants.
Yeah.
They live in decayed wood. They don't decay wood like termites, but if you see those, there's some old wood nearby. I just ignore them. They're like cows. They're looking for stuff to take back to their queen. That's okay. But fire ants, there's so many of them, and their venom is so irritating that they could be a real problem.
Yeah. Okay. I just wanted to clarify that.
Yeah. And by the way, before we go to Jane and Madison, I do have a couple of other plants I want to hold up for those who are on live stream. These are native plants, 3 native plants, and I'm showing them off because nobody really celebrates our native plants except for dogwoods and magnolias. But right now, all the showy plants are coming into bloom, the azaleas and what I call the party girls. But we have 3 natives. There's one called redbud. They're kind of pinkish lavender. No, that's definitely pinkish. Red buds are great native plants for the landscape, and the flowers are edible. They taste like raw peanuts. Also, we have an evergreen plant with lots of white flowers called cherry laurel, and cherry laurel is a terrific wild pollinator plant. The black bears are great for birds, but it's a good evergreen for shade. And then there's one other along the roadside. It's called our native swamp red maple. It's called red maple because the little seed heads, little seed pods called saharas, and the new growth are just red as it can be. So between the red buds, the cherry laurels, and the swamp red maple, let other people worry about the dog. Ride around town, look at other people's dogwoods and their azaleas. Have some that's a little bit more subtle, a little bit more interesting. Now let's go to Jane in Madison. Jane, thank you for holding. You've been hanging over so long.
Oh, that's okay. Thank you, Felder. Okay, I have a question. Right now, the big box stores are selling daffodils that are spent. They're on sale because nobody bought them. I'm wondering if I can buy some of those pots and pull out the bulbs and plant them or put them in the garage over the summer. Will they come back? Will that work?
It's possible. A lot of the ones that sold in big box stores, keep in mind, there are hundreds and hundreds of daffodils. Some bloom in Michigan, will not bloom in Mississippi more than once. Some that bloom in Mississippi will freeze in Kentucky. See, so different kind of daffodils are adapted for different parts of the country, and we don't know what kind that they used in those. Usually they're what we call early forcing type. What I would do is I would get them, I'd leave them in the sun, I'd give them water, I'd leave them in the pots intact until the leaves die down, so they have a chance of making next year's flower bud. That's really important not to disturb bulbs during flower or right after. So if you'll just give them a little bit of because I guarantee you they don't have any fertilizer. Big box stores, they cut off the fertilizer at the grower, and so your plants need a little fertilizer, water, and sunshine. And when they die down, then you can either put them in the ground or keep them in a paper bag or leave them in the pot or whatever you want to and plant them in the fall. But it's going to be a gamble about whether the kind that bloom again in Mississippi or not. A lot of them simply don't rebloom. I was raised with this.
Okay. Well, I'm going to give it a try.
Okay. Hey, it costs less than a beer.
Okay, thank you.
You bet. Okay, now Vicki in Richland. Vicki, good morning. Starting to run out of time, but we're having a good time this morning yakking. What you got going on?
Yes, I have an enclosed patio, brick patio with the walls around it, and it gets lots of sun, and I want to plant a tree in a pot. So I need a tree that doesn't have a big root system, and I need some shade. What kind of tree do you recommend?
You need a big pot.
A big pot, yes.
Yeah, bigger than you could handle if possible, because that tree is going to be a victim of wherever you put it. And there's lots of trees that do okay. A small crepe myrtle will do okay. There's a plant called Vitex, Vitex. Wonderful little small tree. It thrives in dry conditions. It's easy to grow. It's got wonderful flowers in the summertime, but most important, it'll stay in a pot for a long time. So Japanese maple or a Vitex would be the two I'd recommend. And Vitex is just really, and you can hang Mardi Gras beads in it.
What about a tree called the umbrella tree?
Too big.
Okay.
I grow it. Anyway, we're out of time here. But are you on Mississippi Gardening Facebook?
No, but I can go.
Do it, and let's talk there.
Okay. Thank you.
You bet, Vicki. And we're out of time. We don't have time for our next call. Jim, shoot us an email or give us a call next week.
I bet my bottom dollar that's Jim Rosenblatt.
I don't know.
Well, no, that is true. That is true. We have several Jim from Jackson's who call in.
Yes. Well, I've had a good time with Granny's Chicken this week, the double flowering almond. A lot of the early blooming shrubs and native plants are just fantastic. Would encourage folks who haven't mowed their grass yet to consider mowing around a few patches of wildflower. The crimson clover is starting to bloom. The pollinators are starting to find stuff in the trees and shrubs. It's not as crucial, but if you could leave a few little wildflowers out there in your lawn, just mow around them. You can mow them in a couple of weeks. It'll be fine. If you get a chance to take a kid to a farmer's market, there's lots of them cranking up right now. A lot of cool stuff going on. A lot of people growing stuff that they want to share with you. Show them how to do what we do best, folks, and that's get dirty. I'm horticulturalist Felder Rushing, Java, Chapman, all the other folks here at MPB, Sahana and Blake, our live stream producers. So pleased to be with y'all this first day of spring. We'll see y'all same time, same place next week, or go to YouTube and click on Gestalt Gardener anytime during the week. Have fun, stay safe, and get dirty.